Drew, why aren't you uploading videos about the Apple Vision Pro? Well, I'm gonna talk about it, but at first I need to review it for a little bit longer, so I thought in the meantime we could talk about the iPhone 6. Ooh, you're deciding that you actually want to keep it and want to continue using it past the return window? Well, no, that's not what I'm saying, okay? Listen, I'm just trying to— Oh, wait a minute, you actually hate it and you're working on an Apple Sheep Overdrive video. It's gonna be a rant on how many problems it has, right? Well, no, it's not a rant video, okay? I'm just trying to show people that you need time to— No, you really don't like it. That's why it's not plugged in right now. You can't see a thing, can you? Yes, I can! Don't joke around like that. All right. Well, while we're debating what the future of spatial computing looks like, I guess we gotta talk about iPhone colors again. Why, yes, we do, because that's something people can actually afford and buy in their country, unlike this. Ugh, boring. Why isn't your eyesight display working? Well, because the headset's not plugged in, and also, it never works anyway. Let's begin. So, there's been little sprinkles of iPhone 16 leaks over the past couple months, and I thought now would be a good time to kind of recap everything that's rumored, not because we're actually that close to iPhone 16 launching, but this is the awkward middle ground. You know, the iPhone 15s have been out for a while, we can't really even call them new anymore, and we're probably getting some new iPhone 15 colors at the spring event next month, so a lot of people are kind of at the crossroads right now, because they're trying to decide if their phone is acting up and giving them a headache. Do they upgrade now to the iPhone 15, or do they wait for the 16 series? Like, what's in store? What's the incentive for me to hold on to my older iPhone for a little bit longer? And that makes the buying decision kind of difficult right now. Is the 16 worth the wait? And first off, we finally got a look on the rumored updated camera bump design for the iPhone 16, which is, yes, fairly iPhone 10 and 10s reminiscent. Finally going back to the days where we just had two lenses up and down from each other, the old-fashioned stoplight design. But of course, the camera bump has to be different enough with a new placement for the microphone and flash, just to make sure that none of your old cases will continue to work. Apple wants to make sure every time you're dropping $1,000 on a phone, you also drop another $50 on a fine woven case. But the main reason behind the camera bump being redesigned again from the 13 and 14 more diagonal layout is mainly because of spatial video support. In order to get spatial videos working, you kind of need two lenses, primarily an ultra-wide and a regular lens, to be in the landscape orientation. They're basically trying to emulate the distance between your two eyes, so you get those two different perspectives while recording. And then, thanks to those two different perspectives and having two different displays on a device like this, you'll be able to record spatial videos on the regular iPhone 16 and 16 Plus. And they look okay, to be honest, but that's for another day. Aside from that, it's also rumored that the action button from the 15 Pros will be making their way into the regular iPhone 16s, which personally I'm quite excited by because I love minimalism, and to be honest with you, the action button is one of the things that convinced me to make the jump over to the 15 Pro. I didn't think I would end up using it all that much, and now that I have it, I kind of use it all the time, especially when I'm on trips. If we're traveling somewhere and taking a lot more pictures and videos than usual, it is incredibly useful to just constantly be like, oh, quick, get a shot of that, and you just hold down the action button, launches the camera super fast, and I can snap photos like nobody's business. But it sounds like, at least with the iPhone 16 Pros, they may be taking that to a whole nother level. So in case you missed the earlier reports, the Pros are supposed to get even bigger, so sorry if you wanted a smaller iPhone Pro or a revival of the iPhone Mini. It doesn't sound like it's happening, because even the smaller Pro, like my phone that I'm recording this video on right now, people have said is like the smallest flagship you can really get, and that's rumored to get a display size increase to 6.3 inches over the current 6.1, and then the 16 Pro Max is once again just an enormous behemoth, a monstrosity at 6.9 inches. Insanely big displays, but it's got to catch up with the Galaxy Ultras of the world, I suppose. And the Pros are supposed to retain the action button like before, but also gain a capture button, which when I first heard about this, I was not that interested. I was just like, okay, so we have a mappable action button, and now we have a dedicated camera button. Like, okay, this just seems like way too many buttons for an iPhone. I thought we were trying to get rid of buttons, Apple, but now you're just bringing them all back. But the more reports and rumors that came out about the capture button, the the more kind of interesting it started to sound. I'm not gonna say attractive, all right? I'm not upgrading, or am I? Or no, I'm definitely not. But if the capture button, okay, we're not having this discussion today. Let's just talk about what's actually rumored about the capture button, which is it might be a revival of Apple's solid state buttons, where it doesn't physically click inward, but you get taptic feedback when you push on it. And the main reason that might be tempting is they can emulate a lot of the camera buttons that we feel in our DSLRs. As the iPhone is kind of replacing more and more professional cameras each year, it has for me. People with DSLRs can attest that sometimes when you want the shot to get in focus, you just press down a little bit on the capture button, but not all the way. And that's how you tell the camera, like, hey, focus on whatever I'm pointing at. You know, currently to direct focus on the iPhone, we have to tap the display, but as lots of people are taking pictures like this more and more, it might be kind of handy to be able to tell the phone to focus on a particular subject or a particular side of the shot. So with a solid state, more dynamic capture button, you might be able to hold down to focus and then push down really hard before you actually get that click and take the photo. And there's also talk that it could be somewhat of a mini trackpad capable of noticing directions, kind of like the stems on our AirPods Pro 2nd generation. You know how you can tell when you brush it up or down? It might be able to do that from side to side, so that when you're using the new and improved Tetra Prism, or maybe it's a periscope lens on the 16 Pro, who knows, you'll be able to zoom in and zoom out just by brushing back and forth on that capture button, which I think makes a lot of sense, as these days the main reason more and more to go with the Pro iPhone is going to be the camera. There's definitely a lot of people that are kind of treating their phones more as cameras than they are really phones. I'm one of them. So building in more dedicated hardware to give photographers and videographers alike more features and more controls over the camera without having to tap on the display like we do today, yeah, I could see it actually getting kind of attractive to a decent number of smartphone photographers and videographers out there. Thankfully, the Tetra Prism lens that we only have now on the 15 Pro Max should also be making its way to the regular 16 Pro, even though it is bigger, so you win some, you lose some at the same time. And actually, just this morning, there's been leaked specs for the battery capacities of the iPhone 16 lineup, which looks like fairly noticeable boosts. Probably the biggest, most exciting one would be on the 16 Pro Max, rocking over 4,600 milliamp hours, which is definitely going to be a first for an iPhone, and I'm sure Apple's going to continue with the trend of giving the Pro iPhones the latest chip. The A18 Pro chip is probably what they'll be rocking, and the regular iPhone 16 will get the A17 chip. But it probably won't be the Pro variant. Maybe it's just a slightly more binned version of the A17, but still a chip upgrade nonetheless over the current iPhone 15s, which are just rocking the A16 chip. But the downside, again, that I hate to be the bearer of bad news because this ticks everybody off, but once again, with the iPhone 16 lineup, it is rumored that just the Pros will be rocking 120Hz ProMotion displays in the regular iPhone 16s in 2024. Still charging $900+ for these things, are still going to be rocking 60Hz displays. And I know the tech community just can't stand that. It drives them nuts, but average consumers don't care. Just had a friend of mine pick up an iPhone 15. She loves it. She's fine with it. Doesn't notice that it's only 60Hz, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles. There's not much rumors about the USB-C port transfer speeds. I'm kind of hoping that the Pros make the jump to Thunderbolt and have some kind of Apple DeX support, but stop me if you've heard this, because I was hoping for that all last year and I didn't get it. And it's also important to keep in mind that this early, there's usually a lot of leaks and rumors that end up changing down the road. So, of course, take everything with a grain of salt, but I do feel kind of the most confident right now about the display size increases. Those are usually pretty accurate far in advance. And the capture button just sounds very Apple to me. They're constantly trying to figure out what the Pro iPhones can have over the regular iPhones. And the action button doesn't seem like it needs to be a Pro feature, so I think giving that to the cheaper regular iPhones makes a lot of sense. And while the Pros are supposed to get a boost in the ultra-wide camera sensor up to 48 megapixels instead of just 12, hopefully that finally resolves all of the noisiness and softness that we get from our current ultra-wide lenses. Once again, the 16 Pro Max is rumored to get a larger main sensor that the regular 16 Pro is not going to get. And I know everybody wants feature parity between the different sizes, but there's just physics sometimes. You can just objectively fit better lenses and better sensors into the larger iPhone because there's more space. But with so many people opting for the 15 Pro Max, I mean, can you blame Apple for trying to convince more and more people to go for the best of the best iPhone? Because that's just what everybody keeps buying anyway. So you might as well just go all out with it and charge a ton of money for it. Maybe this will be the year we finally see the death of 128 gig iPhones, at least Pro iPhones. iPhones. It was kind of weird that they're still selling a 128 gig 15 Pro, but hey, I bought it and I'm using it and getting by with it. But the 15 Pro Max already abandoned that, so I'm hoping they kind of continue with that trend and just make 256 gig the standard for these Pro iPhones, which are really turning into more cameras than anything. Well, what do you guys think? Does anything sound exciting about the iPhone 16 series that makes you go, you know what, I think I might wait for that one? Or does it all sound kind of, yeah, whatever. I don't really use my phone as a camera all that much. What's the big deal? I don't need spatial video support because I have no intention on spending $3,500 on the giant, thick ski goggles. And if you're in that position, keep in mind that you can find some discounts on iPhone 15s now. They've been around for a while. You can find them used and refurbished on different sites and save yourself some money. They're still amazing iPhones no matter which one you go with. So I don't think there's really a wrong decision here unless you buy an Android. Thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.